So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Today we'll get back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, November 18th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Wednesday, November 18th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. It is the NBA draft is later on today. Actually, tonight is the NBA draft. The 2020 NBA draft should be a lot of fun to watch. I'm excited to see not just what the Nets do, but what all these other teams do in the NBA draft today. Should be a lot of fun. I'm excited. Hopefully you are as well. I think there's going to be a lot of good players that come off the board. I think there's a lot of good players in this draft to begin with. There's a lot of good players early on. There's a lot of good players late. I mean, I was talking even yesterday. There's a lot of players in the late 20s that if this was, maybe 2 years ago, they could be in the top 10. There's a lot of talent in this draft. There's a lot of good players in this draft. A lot of guys I've seen from college come here, and I've seen, really get some high praise. So it should be a lot of fun. I've got my mock draft today. Did all 30 picks last night. Kind of got to go through a top 10. Top 20. I'm really going to focus on. 20 to 30 I'll talk about, but not to the point because I've also got to get to other topics. I'm going to give a really big in-depth detail in the top 10 because that's kind of, your prime picks, picks. A lot of people I know, some drafts I knew even in the NFL, I've heard of people who will sit there and watch the first 10 picks and shut it off. I'm not that person. But I know some people do that because sometimes they just find the first 10 picks are the most fun to watch, and then once it's done, it's over. Or sometimes they'll watch the whenever their team picks and leave it at that. But the Nets today, they pick late. The Nets play at the 19th pick today, so I'll be watching. Definitely a long time. I don't know. I'll probably. It all depends on how I'm feeling. It all depends on how long the draft's going. If I'm gonna watch any other picks after the Nets, definitely staying up to watch the Nets pick though. But yeah, we got the mock draft today. These are the topics today. We got the NBA mock draft. The Nets and the Knicks. I'm going to kind of give you a special preview on the Nets and the Knicks. The Knicks have the 8th pick in the draft. They have a lottery pick. The Nets have the 19th. Obviously did not have a lottery pick, which is not surprising. Then our second topic, we got some MLB rumors / the Yankees and the Mets. Kind of just going to skim through some rumors. I would imagine I'm not going to spend too much time on this topic, just because I would imagine the mock draft's probably going to take up a lot of time, which was kind of my plan for today. I'm going to kind of talk about some rumors going around the MLB, some Yankees news and stuff. Then we'll get to the college football games as well. 2 small games on yesterday. One game was close. The Kent State Akron game was very close. I mean, that game was close, and then go to open up the second half, Kent State just absolutely dominated, scored a ton of points. And then the Bowling Green Buffalo game, that game was close early too, but then Buffalo really opened up. They were winning. I think they ended up winning 42-10. I was switching back and forth watching, so it was good. Tonight I probably won't do that because I got the NBA draft, so I'll be watching the draft tonight. But if you're not interested in the draft, you got some college games on tonight. I think there's 3 or 4 small games on tonight. I know Northern Illinois plays. I think Toledo plays, something like that. So there's a couple small games on. I'll give you my picks for them. Nothing crazy. Just give you my picks, give you my thoughts. Do all that later on in the podcast, though. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get right into it. So, so the NBA draft is obviously tonight, like I've probably said 3-4 times already in the first 5 minutes of this podcast. But the NBA draft is on tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the pre-draft show starts, and the first team to be officially on the clock, which is the Minnesota Timberwolves, will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So whether you watch it or not, that is the time that it is on. So it should be a lot of fun. This is the first draft, and I kind of want to just spend some quick time on this, and then I'll actually get into my picks. Don't want to spend too much time because I've got a lot of picks to go through. I got 30 to go through, so I don't want to spend 20 minutes on talking about this, but I kind of wanted to really just quickly nail this on the head. This year's NBA draft, and we can all agree that past drafts were there's more guarantee of who's going to be number one. And I think we can all agree this. In the NHL draft, for example, the NHL draft this year was the Alexis Lafreniere sweepstakes. The NFL draft was the Joe Burrow sweepstakes. Whoever got the number one pick, we all knew was going to Joe Burrow, especially in the Bengals. There was no doubt that the Bengals weren't going to pick Joe Burrow. This year in the NBA draft, and same with the NBA draft last year, it was all Zion Williamson. It was the Zion Williamson sweepstakes. Whoever got the number one pick, there you go. There's Zion Williamson, right? So every year there's usually you can kind of guarantee who's going to go in the top three. That's kind of the case this year. I have a good feeling about my top three picks. But every year usually, and it seems, and I'm not joking when I say this, you could go back and look at drafts. Last year in the NFL draft, or this year in the NFL draft, it was Joe Burrow. Last year, it was Kyler Murray, I think, got drafted last year, right, in the NFL draft. So it was all these Kyler Murray sweepstakes, right? So every year you usually know who's going to go number one, who's going to go number two. You usually know about the top five. Usually I know about the top five-ish. Some people may only know the top three. Some people really, really, really smart people know the top 10, top 15. They'll nail it down perfectly. I'm not that kind of person. I usually don't. I think last year in the NFL draft, I think I got my first 7 picks correct, I think. And then I got some wrong in the later on rounds. But the mock draft isn't, to me personally, my mock draft isn't about getting it right or wrong. Now, sure, all 30 of these teams get it correct. Sure, I'm okay with it. But, if all 30 of these picks I have are all correct, then that would be pretty cool. But I'm not really doing a mock draft to kind of give you hoping I get it all correct. Now, sure, getting all correct would be a pretty cool thing to do, but if I don't get it all correct, you know how hard that is? That's almost like saying, an NCAA March Madness bracket. That's very difficult to get all correct. I have not gone through one round with getting it all correct. The most I have gone in the March Madness was I think last couple years ago, round 6, in the first round, I only got 3 games wrong. That was probably my closest ever. But other than that, haven't even get that. So the mock draft to me is usually just to kind of give you a gauge of where I think it's going to go. So this year, the number one is still a toss-up. We don't really know. Some people think Anthony Edwards. Some people think LaMelo Ball. There's still that slight amount of people out there that think James Wiseman. And I think that population is less than 1%, because I think we can all agree James Wiseman's probably not going number one. But it is narrowed down to, and even the Minnesota Timberwolves has said, it is narrowed down to Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. That is what it's narrowed down to. So obviously it's going to be fun to see who goes number one. I am personally on one train rather than the other, and I think the person that I don't pick no one will go number one is going number 3. Let me just say this. If Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball, I'm not going to spoil my pick yet, but if Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball don't go number 1, whoever doesn't go number 1 is going to go to number 3 to the Hornets, and I can almost guarantee that. I think number 2 is a lock. I'm not going to say what, but I think number 2 is... I can almost lock in number 2 as guaranteed. I can almost say number 2 is my guaranteed pick. Guaranteed that pick's going to be happening. So, with all that being said, this is the first year that there is no lock in number 1. Everyone last year knew Joe Burrow was going number 1. Everyone 2 years ago knew Kyler Murray was going number 1. Knew Zion was going number 1. So this is the first year... And Alexis Lafreniere this year for NHL knew he was going number 1. So this is the first year. I could go on. NHL last year, we all knew it was Jack Hughes going number 1. So this year is the first time in a long time the number 1 pick is not decided yet. It was not decided 3 months ago. Once the college football season was done, we knew Joe Burrow was going to the Bengals. That was decided 6 months before the draft or 3 months before the draft. This year, on the other hand, it is not. Is between 2 guys, Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. So with all that being said, that's what makes this draft interesting, because number 1, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I mean, you don't know who's going number 1 yet. So, you don't know who's going number 1 yet. So it's not like you could sit back and be like, oh, I already know who's going number 1. That's going to be an entertaining pick to see. So, with all that being said, let's get into my mock draft, NBA mock draft 2020. Like I said, I'm not a big guy to do trades, this, and this, and this. Usually my mock drafts limit trades, just because I do think they might happen, but it's just a lot. Because sometimes a trade could be a lot more than just, oh, you trade me this pick for that. It could be a lot more. I don't really feel like predicting the trade, because you could trade anyone for anything. So with all that being said, let's get into the NBA mock draft. I was pretty short on that. I think just about 4 to 5 minutes, which is exactly what I wanted. I did not want to rumble on for 20 minutes. But with all that being said, this is my NBA mock draft 2020. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so my first pick in the NBA draft belongs to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I have the Minnesota Timberwolves selecting Anthony Edwards, shooting guard out of Georgia. Now, I know a lot of you might disagree with me here. This is probably, if you got to this point in the video about 10 minutes in, I'll probably lose some people here because a lot of people disagree with me. Actually, a lot of people I know agree with me, but I'm sure there's people out there that I don't know that disagree. I know that there's people out there that think LaMelo Ball is going number one. Here's my reasoning for Anthony Edwards going number one. And I think this is a pretty good reason, and here's my reasoning behind it, okay? I've seen Anthony Edwards play, like I said, and a lot of this, I will go back to a lot of this for the majority of the draft if they're in the SEC, and I don't want to say, just because I'm a Kentucky fan, I know this, but it is the truth. I'm a Kentucky basketball fan. Been a fan my whole life. So I'm a Kentucky basketball fan, so I've seen these SEC players play a lot. A lot of these high-end SEC players, I've seen them play a lot, whether that's from Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, whatever SEC school it is, I see him play about 2-3 times a year, depending on how the SEC tournament goes. So I've seen Anthony Edwards play a ton, being that I am a Kentucky fan. So I've seen him play a whole lot. And what I've seen out of him, and not even just against Kentucky, I've seen him play against other teams too. What I have seen out of Anthony Edwards is he is a very good shooter. He's good on both ends of the floor. I think that's what the Timberwolves want. They need a guy that's good on both ends of the floor. They already have a good defender in Karl-Anthony Towns. They already have a good shooter in D'Angelo Russell. This guy will complement both of them. He can pass. He's a good passer. He's a good shooter. And for his position and for his size, he's a very good shooter. And also, on the defensive end of the court, he can get back and forth quickly, right? Misses a shot, right back on the defensive end. He'll make some defensive plays. That could actually be a scary front three right there. D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, and Karl-Anthony Towns, a.k.a. Cat. So that's why I have them taking Anthony Edwards at number one. I've seen him play. He's a good shooter, a tall guy, a very smart basketball player, a very good decision maker, coming out of a big name school in Georgia, coming out of a good coach program in Georgia. And I liked what I saw out of him in college, and I continue to like what I saw out of him out of some of his draft combines, and what I've seen just overall as his highlight. And I've heard a lot of good things about him, and I do give Anthony Edwards the nod, and I think he's going number one. I know a lot of people think Ball is. I know this is probably where the draft is most separated. I think this is where the number one pick is where it's most separated. And that's usually very rare. Because usually the number one pick, everyone agrees on it. Oh, it's this guy. Oh, it's this guy. This year, NBA draft is literally 50-50. 50% of NBA fans think Edwards. 50% of NBA fans think Ball. It's the truth. So it really is 50-50 this year. So it's going to be fun to watch. But my personal opinion is that Anthony Edwards, and I think the right decision for the Timberwolves, would be Anthony Edwards, shooting guard out of Georgia. Next up, we got the Golden State Warriors with the number 2 pick. Very odd for a team who a lot of people think is a very great dynasty to have a number 2 pick. I have them taking the number 2 pick, Golden State Warriors. I have them taking James Wiseman, center out of Memphis. And I understand James Wiseman only played a couple of games in Memphis. He obviously had the problems with the whole Penny Hardaway getting into the school thing, and he ended up just quitting for the year and ended up just playing. Now, those words that I just said, the viewers at home, you could be thinking to yourself, oh, why even draft him? Well, here's my reasoning. This guy is a very tall guy and a very strong player. That is exactly what you want in a center. And they already have Curry, who a lot of people, everyone knows who Curry is. They already have Klay Thompson. They already, they don't have a solid center. That's why I think this is such a lock. And that's why I think it's such a lock. I don't even think it comes down to sometimes the name. I just think it's the fact that it's a center. If this wasn't James Wiseman and this was some other guy, they just need a center. The Warriors don't have that significant big man that can really make game-changing plays. And they are getting that in James Wiseman. What I saw in his very short time with Memphis, when he was with Memphis, before he left, everyone was saying, oh, Wiseman, number 1 pick. Wiseman, number 1 pick. Oh, Wiseman, number 1 pick. He left, and all of a sudden his stock fell a little bit. Just because because he left, his stock fell just a little bit. The Warriors are still getting a very good player in James Wiseman. They're getting a good shooter for a center. They're getting a good shooter, a guy who could stretch the court, a guy who can get back on defense, and ultimately, like I said with Edwards, a very smart player in big situations. Penny Hardaway, a very good basketball player back in his day, taught him a lot. He learned a lot from him. He went out, trained on his own, got better, and I think James Wiseman's going to be number 2, and I think this is a very good player in the draft, arguably the second or third best player in the draft. I have James Wiseman going number 2 to the Golden State Warriors. Number 3, Charlotte Hornets. I have them taking LaMelo Ball, point guard, USA. He played overseas, but he's from the USA. He didn't play at a college. That is my one flaw with him. Okay, I have a couple things about LaMelo Ball. Personally, I think this is a little bit of a risky pick, and I know a lot of you might disagree with me. I know that. I personally think LaMelo Ball is a little bit of a risky pick. Any ball, I feel like, is. And you might sit here and really disagree with me. Here's my reason why I think it's a risky pick. Is because I've seen what happens with pass ball. I saw Lonzo Ball. He hasn't been anything anyone expected. If anything, he's underrated. Or if anything, he's underachieved. He's underachieved. And here's my one thing. I think his dad, LeVar Ball, is a he's a loudmouth. And I think he causes a lot of trouble. And I want to say something here. Lonzo Ball was very bad with the Lakers. We can all agree on that, I think. I think a lot of us can see it. He was a bust with the Lakers. His dad was very largely involved into his time with the Lakers. He got released from the Lakers, he got traded to the Pelicans, went over to the Pelicans. I'm pretty sure he was in the Anthony Davis trade. He got traded over to the Pelicans. Just like that, boom, he's on the Pelicans. This is what happened. He stopped kind of promoting the big baller brand. He stopped kind of promoting. Him and his dad were kind of, on two ends. They don't really talk that much during the season anymore. Lonzo went out on his own way, focused on his game, and significantly his stats and his play have gotten better. I don't know if LaMelo's going to do that. I don't know if his dad's going to be crazy on LaMelo like he was on Lonzo. All I know is teams are taking a little bit of a risk here. Another risk here with LaMelo Ball, and I'm going to tell him your positives. I know I might be speaking a lot of negatives out by LaMelo. Not a big fan. I know I'm speaking a lot of negatives, but I do have a couple positives, okay? Here's my other negative. He played overseas. I'm not saying that playing overseas is a bad thing, but for someone like an Anthony Edwards or a James Wiseman that went to a big name school, that went to a school that was well coached, that went to a school with very good talent, and that went to a school that's going up against very good talent. Sometimes these overseas guys are going up against washed-up NBA players, and you can't get what they're fully coming out of them. That's one of my other negatives. But a positive here is he's a very good shooter, a very good shooter, a very, very, very good shooter, and he has some of the best moves I've seen as an NBA player. I mean, this guy can, through the legs, behind the back, boom, 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 just like that, goes right through the net. This guy has some of the best ball handling I've seen in a long time, and that's a positive. Another negative, though, is his defense. Very bad in defense. So Hornets, if the Hornets get him, or if he's down to number 3, Michael Jordan came out earlier today and said, if he falls to number 3, we're taking him. I think LaMelo Ball is going to the Charlotte Hornets. Very good shooter, good assist guy, pretty good teammate. Negatives, though, overseas, defense, kind of the whole Ball family sometimes gets in the way. But I do have LaMelo Ball going number 3 to the Charlotte Hornets. Next up, we got number 4, Chicago Bulls, Deni Avdija, small forward from Israel. So, I know I just talked about the whole overseas stuff, and that is one thing. But this guy, LaMelo could have played here. Deni Avdija, he was over there for this whole time. So, sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. It's very difficult. I've seen highlights of this guy, and he's been a very big name throughout this draft. I mean, you've heard him pretty much you've heard him for a very long time here. You've heard about Deni Avdija for probably ever since the lockdown. I mean, he's been a guy for the past year or two that we've all been hearing about. We've all been, watching and kind of paying attention to, even though he is overseas in Israel. He's a very good shooter. He's a very good shooter. A very good shooter. I like his catch and shoot. He's a guy that has a lot of upside to him. Very little downside. Has a lot of upside. He's tall. He can make good plays. He's very smart. And I also think with him, too, he's a very good learner, right? This was a guy who stepped onto the court not knowing much about it, was coached by a pretty good coach, and learned a lot. Learned a lot from a lot of veterans. He was overseas, so he learned. That's another positive about it. That could be a positive about overseas. You're learning from some former NBA players. He was overseas. He learns from some NBA players. He learns from some guys that maybe didn't spend much in the NBA, but were in the NBA nonetheless. Getting to the NBA or any pro sport league is a huge accomplishment. He learned a lot. He's taken a lot of advice from a lot of very, very known and good people, wherever that is, whether that was on his team, whether that was in Israel, or people from the United States saying, how good he is. This is a guy who's been learning a lot and is a very smart player now. He came onto the court, learned a lot, a whole lot of upside for this guy. I actually think this is one of the better players in the draft. He's not very known. He's turned known because of the draft. But before the draft, he hasn't been very known. This has been a guy I've been keeping my eye out for. Obviously, when he kind of became known and stuff. But this has been a guy I've been keeping my eye out. A very good player. And I do think he lands number 4 to the Chicago Bulls. I think it would add some good size. It would add some good shooting to already Zach LaVine, Laurie Markin, and guys like that. And a new head coach. It's almost a fresh start there. Bringing in Denny with a fresh start, fresh head coach, fresh front office. That Bulls team, watch out. Also, Kobe White's also there. That would be a very young starting lineup, and that is what I like for the Chicago Bulls. Danny Avdija, small forward, Israel. Next up, we got number 5, Cleveland Cavaliers. I have them taking Obi Toppin, power forward center from Dayton. Okay, I've said this for a long time now. I don't really like to have teams pick player or a position that they already have. But Obi Toppin's on another level. Now, Andre Drummond obviously just picked up their option there in Cleveland. He's obviously a center, a big man. But I liked what I saw out of Obi Toppin, especially towards the end of the year last year with Dayton. Before I shouldn't say end of the year because the year never finished. Before the whole lockdown, the whole shutdown of the college basketball season. Obviously, we all know the March Madness and all that. Don't have to go through that again. But obviously, before the whole lockdown stuff, this was definitely probably the candidate, if not the automatic winner. They actually, I think, crowned him the winner, the player of the year for college basketball, Obi Toppin. Now, you might be wondering, why isn't he going number 1? Well, he had one really great breakout year from a smaller school in Dayton, never really known as a basketball school they are now. And I think maybe even if you look at Anthony Edwards, was definitely up there in player of the year as well. But Obi Toppin, a guy who was very good. He was a very good big man. He added a lot of good size to that Dayton lineup. Actually, a couple years before that was a Dayton lineup that was missing size. Obi Toppin went there. This is what's so crazy about Obi Toppin. This guy is a former 0-star recruit. 0 stars. So, recruiting, I'll tell you this very quickly. Recruiting, you can have anywhere from 0 to 5 stars. 5 stars is your ultimate, your big name recruits, your guys that are more than likely on their way to go into the pros in whatever sport league that is. Your 4 stars are still very good. 3s are okay. 2s are, you need some work to do. 1s are, not the guys that might only go there to play college and that's it, or just go there. 0s are guys that you would never even think would go to the NBA or any sport league, not just the NBA. Sure enough, actually, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. I would have to just really double check on this, but I'm 99% sure he was a 0-star recruit. He actually went to a community college first, then transferred to Wyoming, and look, now he's a very good, now a lot of people think he's an MVP candidate for this year. So it is pretty crazy, a lot of these stories, what happens. But Obi Toppin was a former 0-star recruit, and this is what I like about this player too. He's a very hard worker. He puts in a lot of time and effort into this sport. He loves the sport of basketball. He went to a smaller name school and made that school a big name basketball school. He can do that with a team. Cleveland, big name team, is kind of dying down now after LeBron left. Now they've kind of they're not very good anymore. They're kind of one of these teams that are on the cusp of really being in the bottom of the NBA. That same thing with Dayton. This is the same exact thing with Dayton. Dayton was on the bottom of the college basketball scale. No one ever thought of them as a top 10 team. No one ever thought of them really at all. Obi Toppin got their 0s. They were always known for getting these low-star 3-0 recruits, not doing much. Obi Toppin brought that team back. He brought that team back, and now Dayton is a completely different program, and Obi Toppin could definitely not saying he's going to make Cleveland what they were with LeBron, but he could definitely bring them back. This is a team that's right now in the dark times. He could definitely bring them back, just like he did with Dayton. Obi Toppin, number 5 there. Number 6, Atlanta Hawks. Tyrese Halliburton, point guard, Iowa State. I know you might be thinking, oh, why would they get up a point guard from they have Trae Young, they have guys like that. I understand. This would be an amazing pick for the Atlanta Hawks, and let me tell you why. Tyrese Halliburton with Iowa State was a very good player. He can shoot, he's fast, he's quick, and if he really wanted to, he could drive to the net. He's got a very good upside to him. Same thing with Trae Young. Here's my thing why I have another point guard going there. He might back up. He's definitely going to back up. I think Trae Young's are in that role. They're very good. He probably will be backing up. But that would be a very good sixth man to have on your roster. A very, very, very good sixth man to have on your roster. Okay? You have a very good sixth man. You would have that starting five, which is very solid. A lot of young assets, John Collins, Cam Reddish, Trae Young, guys like that. And you would have coming off the bench a guy in Tyrese Halliburton who could very well be a part of this insane rebuild this Atlanta team is going to and could be in the part of the future of this team. It's a team that's very young and very talented. Give them a couple years and they will be in the top of the NBA. I can almost guarantee it. Tyrese Halliburton, point guard, Iowa State, going to the Atlanta Hawks. Number 7, we have the Detroit Pistons. Isaac Okoro, small forward, Auburn. Okay, this was another guy I've seen play against Kentucky a whole lot. I've seen him play against them a whole lot. Sadly, I watched them beat us a couple times. But in those times they beat us, he was a big part of it. And I know he's a very, very, very good basketball player from what I've seen. And I will admit, I think Kentucky's a very good team. And what he did against Kentucky was very good. He's a phenomenal player, Isaac Okoro, small forward. It gives the Pistons some size. You know, it's a Pistons team that's another team in a dark times right now, really, for the Pistons. A franchise that's really failing, a franchise that does not have many assets around them. Just trading stuff. You could tell they were trying to get trading for draft picks now. I think this is a guy that could possibly, start something. Build around him. I think Isaac Okoro, definitely, this is a solid pick there. He gives them a lot of size, gives them a lot of depth, gives a lot of good players, gives them a good player. And I think overall, what I saw with him in Auburn and what I've seen with him in his training and stuff like that, I really like what I've seen out of Isaac Okoro, and I do think he goes there. His size, I think, is a very big thing, too. I think his size is one of a big thing as well, because, this is a team that, you're going to want that, you're going to want your size, right? He's 6'6", he's a very big guy. He's very strong, too. He's very strong, right? So, this is a very good player for a small forward. I have the Pistons taking Isaac Okoro at number 7. Now we start into the Knicks. We're at 27 minutes here, so I'll probably go on for about 10 more minutes, wherever we leave off, so we're at about 40. If we're at 40 and we're at number pick 15, I'll probably just kind of quickly skim through it. But at number 8 right now, we have the New York Knicks. Now, I know there's been a lot of rumors surrounding the Knicks. Who are they going to take? Are they going to trade? What are they going to do? For me being kind of that person who follows New York sports big time, I follow obviously my main teams, which is the Rangers, Yankees, Jets, and Nets. But you still hear the other news just because it is New York sports of the other teams, whether that's the Mets, the Knicks, the Giants, the Islanders, whatever it is, you always hear that. So I've been hearing a whole lot of rumblings. I'm sure like a lot of Knicks fans have been saying about the Nets getting Harden. I've been hearing a whole lot of rumblings about the Knicks about, are they going to trade the pick? Are they going to trade for Westbrook tonight, and will the pick be sent to the Rockets? What's going to happen with this New York Knicks pick? Now, I think that trading him to the Rockets is a very good prediction. A lot of people have made that prediction, a very good prediction. I personally don't have that. I do have the Rockets trading up later on. I'll tell you that when we get there. But I don't know if they're going to trade this pick. Here's my reasoning. This is still a team that, this is still a team that is very, I would say, young still, and a team that is still kind of growing up and stuff. So this is definitely one of these teams that I would definitely say is, this is a team that's got a future, right? So this is a younger team. They already traded and they got the number 23 pick. They already traded with the Jazz. I don't know if I would trade, unless if it's for Westbrook and some big player like that. I don't know if I would trade your number one, your first round pick, your lottery pick at number 8, traded away for someone average. If it's for Westbrook and some other stuff, maybe. But I personally don't think they should get Westbrook, depending on what they're going to have to give him. But you might have to trade for some players. So there's definitely a possibility here that they do trade this pick, and I think that is a very reasonable, and especially to the Heat, or the Rockets, sorry. And especially the Rockets has a very good chance. I personally don't have them trading. I do think they do. They have a new, president of basketball operations and stuff. They have a new president there. They have a new GM and stuff, right? They have a lot of new things there. I think they're going to want to see what he can do in a draft. And sure enough, possibly, they already traded later on. You also have a new head coach. Let him develop these players, right? Don't just trade away your draft pick, get Russell Westbrook, and all of a sudden think, oh, well, this guy's going to, right? Let him develop a player. Let him get his own player to really develop. And I have the Knicks taking Devin Vassell, shooting guard small forward from Florida State. And one of the big reasons is because he's going to complement one of the future players of this team. I think Devin Vassell from Florida State, I've seen him play a couple times as well. I think he has a lot of, he can really complement RJ Barrett very well. Him and RJ on the floor, I think, would be very good. They have similar play styles. They're both tall. They're both big. They can both shoot. Right? They have similar play styles. So I really do think it's a positive to have him on the court. They could pass the ball to each other. They could assist each other. They could do a lot together. I think they would really, the way they play, I think they would mesh very well. And I think that's exactly what you want. You're talking about RJ Barrett, a guy who might spend his career there. You're going to want guys that are going to be able to complement him and want guys that are going to be able to work well with him. So that's why I have them taking Devin Vassell. I've heard a lot of news around Cole Anthony. I've heard a lot of news about this, and this. Cole Anthony, his name is definitely dropped. I still think he's a very good player. I don't know if he gets in the top 10 anymore. I still think he's one of the better players in all the draft. I don't think he goes in the top 10, though. I do still have Devin Vassell, shooting guard small forward from Florida State here. I think he complements RJ Barrett very well. Next up, we got number 9 Washington Wizards. Anika Onkagwe, center USC. Wizards need some height. They need some height. They need height. This is another team that's going through a major rebuild. This could be a guy, a big man, a very good player, strong, smart, good player from USC. Seen him play a couple times in college. Hearing more about him, I've seen him play in college. Didn't know much about him in college, but obviously heard more about him with this draft, seen a lot more about him. He seems like a very good guy with a lot of upside, seems like a very strong player, a guy that could possibly be maybe someone you could build around for this Wizards team. This Wizards team, another team right now that's on a trajectory of just falling, and they're going to have to start that bumpy rebuild like everyone does eventually. Start that bumpy rebuild. This might be the first of many pieces for this Wizards team. Next up, we got number 10. We'll go to, I think we might just get the first 15, I'll try to get to the Nets, 19, and then from there, we'll just kind of quickly sip through it, because we're at 32 already, so we're almost at 40. We've only gone through 10 picks, so we're going to go through number 2. We'll probably get to number 19, and then we'll get to some MLB news. So now we move to number 10, the Phoenix Suns. I have them taking Saddiq Bey, small forward, Villanova. So obviously the Suns already have Booker. Now they added Chris Paul. The next guy up could be Saddiq Bey. This guy is a very good basketball player, a very good player from Villanova. Villanova has produced a lot of very good products, a very good coach in Villanova. You know, Villanova is one of the better basketball programs out there, better basketball programs in the history of college basketball. And a lot of players who come out there are very successful. And also, I think he would be a great pairing with two very, very, very good guards in Paul, a veteran, and a kind of, I guess, so-called veteran in Booker, who's been around for a little bit now. You have two very good players there, and I think he can quickly come onto the court in the Suns and learn very good. He can learn quickly. He can learn from Chris Paul, who's been in the league for a while, and Devin Booker, who is gaining experience every day. He's gained a lot of experience. He's starting to, definitely he's been in the league for a little bit as well. He's now got a lot of experience. This is a guy who can go right to the Suns, learn a ton, learn from, a lot of people think, one of the better players. A lot of people think a top 30 of all time. I don't know if I would go that far. He doesn't have a championship, but a lot of people think one of the better veterans in all the league right now. Right, so, Saddiq Bey, small forward, Villanova, and he can go right onto the Suns team and automatically learn from two very good players, and I think that's big. Next up, we got number 11, San Antonio Spurs. I do have them taking Cole Anthony, point guard, North Carolina. The Spurs last season struggled, missed the playoffs for the first time in however many years. This offseason, there was a lot of rumors swirling about Popovich, DeMar DeRozan, guys like that. I think this is a team that's slowly, almost like the Rockets. We don't really know, but they have the feelings of going into a rebuild. And I think Cole Anthony, getting him out of North Carolina, was North Carolina's one of his lone stars last year, a team who really struggled last year to score points, really, and he was able to score a ton of points. Cole Anthony, he scored the majority of them. He's a very quick and elusive player, has a lot of good footwork, he's very smart, a very good shooter, and overall a very good basketball player. I think if you're going to take a very solid player at number 11, I think it's Cole Anthony. And here's my reason, right? They could use a guard. This is a team that's possibly going through a rebuild. I think this could be your first piece. Same thing with the Pistons. This could be your first piece of many pieces to a rebuild. But I think you start here with Cole Anthony. Next up, we got number 12, the Sacramento Kings. I have them taking Aaron Naismith, small forward, Vanderbilt. This was another guy. He actually caused Kentucky some problems in the one game we played against them. It's a very tall and strong player. The Kings could definitely use it. They've got the Aaron Fox. They traded Bogdanovich. He was kind of their big there. They traded him away. They got this pick here. I think what you got to do this here. You have to get Aaron Naismith here. He's a tall and fast player. He's quick and elusive, just like Cole Anthony. He's a pretty solid shooter for his position and size. You got to take him here because he's going to fit the system well. He's a smart player. He's going to learn a lot from this team. De'Aaron Fox has been in the league for a little bit. He's going to learn a lot from him. I think they'll really be a good combo together. I have them taking Aaron Naismith, small forward from Vanderbilt. Number 13, we have the New Orleans Pelicans. I have them taking Killian Hayes, USA. I've heard a lot of news about this guy. I've heard of him in the top 10. I've heard of him going to the Knicks. I've heard him going in the top 5. I've known this guy for a little bit now. Not personally, I've just heard of him. I have them taking Killian Hayes here for the new Pelicans, right? They just traded away Drew Holiday. That's one of the things. They just traded away Holidays. I think you could definitely have Killian Hayes fill in his shoes. Not completely. He's still a good defender and a very good shooter. Not completely beat Drew Holiday, but could definitely fill in the shoes. This Pelicans team, that's a very bright future. If you get Killian Hayes now, you now have Killian Hayes. You now have Zion. You have Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram. This is a team that has a very bright future ahead of them with a lot of full young talent. Guys who every year are making strides and are improving, and we need to see Zion in a full season, obviously. And I think this is the first step of really being a consistent and solid team. Killian Hayes, New Orleans Pelicans. Number 14, I have the Boston Celtics. I think they take Kira Lewis Jr., point guard, out of Alabama. They obviously have Kemba, Tatum, Hayward, and guys like that. I do think they take this guy, though. I think he'll be a solid six-man or a solid guy off the bench. He's a pretty solid shooter. Pretty good defender, too. Offense is probably his strength. But definitely can shoot, can be solid, can defend well, quick and elusive, a lot of good footwork I've seen out of this guy. A lot of good playmaking. He's a very good playmaker. Can assist, finds the open guy fast. I have them taking Kira Lewis Jr., point guard of Alabama. Number 15, we have the Orlando Magic. I have them taking R.J. Hampton, shooting guard from USA. This is a guy who also played overseas, and I know R.J. Hampton, Houston Rockets, by the way. So here we go. So this is one. I just want to say one quick thing here. So I have them trading here. So this is my first trade. I have the Rockets trading this pick. Here's my reasoning. I think they'll trade up here with the Trailblazers. I think tonight there's going to be a move that happens. Whether that's Russell Westbrook going somewhere, whether that's James Harden going somewhere, even if neither of those guys are going anywhere, I do think the Rockets make a trade tonight. Don't know what exact trade, but I do think they make a trade tonight, either whether that's trading up or whatever. I do think they make a trade tonight. And I have the Rockets getting R.J. Hampton, the USA. The reason I have them taking Hampton is because he's a very good player, very, very, very good player, smart, and a lot of scouts have said that he's one of the more underrated players in this draft. And here's my thing. If there are rumors around Harden and Westbrook leaving, you're going to go through a rebuild. This is the guy you would want as your centerpiece of this team. That's why I also have him trading up here to get him. Not just because of Harden and them, but trading up because this could be the start of something for the future of this Rockets team. taking R.J. Hampton. I know there's been a lot of news around the Nets as well, but if the Rockets can, I'm sure they go and swoop it up. Number 17, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. I have them taking purchase Achua, power forward of Memphis. And the reason I have them actually taking this here is because they're going to get Edwards, I think. And I think they're going to get Achua here. Here's my thing with this guy as well, because I think another dude, too, and this kind of goes back to my next point as well. I think Edwards and him will work well together. I think you have two very good bigs then. You'd have a very good power forward a very good power forward in Achua, and then you have Anthony Davis, and you have two very good guards that can both shoot very well, and Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell. So you're getting possible very solid 4 players for that Memphis team here, and that's why I think they take him too, and I think him and Edwards will really combo well, which is exactly what you want. Next up, we have number 18, Dallas Mavericks. I have them taking, this one's really a toss-up here. I've been taking Jalen Smith, center out of Maryland. There's been a lot of rumors about them taking Tyrese Maxey or Jalen Smith. I personally think they take Jalen Smith. They don't have a solid center there outside of Aaron Gordon, but he's okay. I think you need another center. I think you take Jalen Smith, very strong, very good guy out of Maryland. And then number 19, Brooklyn Nets. I actually haven't taken Tyrese Maxey, shooting guard out of Kentucky. A lot of more rumors have been swirling around about him in the recent days, and a lot of these recent days news is usually the main news stuff. I think it's going to be either between Tyrese Maxey or Jalen Smith. If Maxey falls to them, I think it's if both of them fall to him, that's the Nets' decision. I would love to have Maxey on this team. Now, here's my whole thing. Jalen Smith, for example. Let's just say, some people have the Mavericks taking Maxey. Let's just say Mavericks take Maxey. Next up, I would want the Nets to take Jalen Smith. Let's just say Jalen Smith and Maxey are both there. Nets take whoever they want. I personally think I would be okay with both. But if you take Maxey, because then you already have 3 centers. You have Allen, who could play power forward center. You have DeAndre Jordan and Nick Claxton. That would add 4 centers. So I think whatever you do, I think it's the right. Don't mind whatever the Nets do. I've also heard some rumors about Cole Anthony falling to us. 19th pick's hard to predict because it's whatever happens. Like, the top 5 picks are easy because the Nets have to wait. So that's why the 19th pick sometimes hard. That's why some of these late round picks people take sometimes longer to pick, because a lot of these guys sometimes don't know. You know, if you're the 27th pick in the draft, and you're not going to know who you're going to pick until you might have a good idea, but you're not going to know entirely who you're going to pick unless you're the number 1 pick, and unless you're the number 3 pick, you might know, right? So it's one of the big things. Now I'm just going to quickly sim through the rest of the draft here. The 20th pick, I have the Miami Heat taking Trey Jones. I think he'll really mesh well with Butler and Tyler Hero. They got something good working there. 21, 76, Philadelphia 76ers, Theo Maledon, point guard France. I think with all these rumors around Simmons and Embiid and stuff, possibly leaving, or Simmons and one of them, I think they need another point guard, so definitely take him. Number 23, Denver Nuggets, Isaiah Stewart, center, Washington. They have obviously already got a good center there, but to complement Jokic behind him, I would take him. Number 23, Utah Jazz. I had the Jazz here. I actually think the Knicks here, I think still could take Winston as well. Another good guard from Michigan State. They obviously traded that pick. Number 24, Pelicans. Lishke Paluskeve, center, Serbia. Another young star that could very well mesh well with the stuff they got down there with the Pelicans. 25, Oklahoma City Thunder, Malachi Flynn, point guard, San Diego State. This is another team that seems to be going through a rebuild right now and definitely seems to be adding a piece. Number 26, Boston Celtics, Leonardo Balmero, small forward, Argentina. Add a good shooter, kind of that kind of stuff. Number 27, Utah Jazz. I think Desmond Bain, small forward, TCU. 28, Los Angeles Lakers, Jaden McDaniels, power forward, Washington. They could very well trade this pick. Toronto Raptors. I haven't taken Josh Green, small forward, shooting guard. Arizona, with all these rumors around Fred VanVleet, becomes an unrestricted free agency. Unrestricted free agent. He can fill in his shoes. And then 30, Boston Celtics. I have them taking Vernon Carey Jr., center from Duke. Had some height. So, you've obviously got another good draft. So, this is that's my NBA mock draft right there. So I think it's pretty good. See what the Nets do. Like I said, if the Nets get Jalen Smith or Tyreke Maxey, I'll be fine. To be honest, whoever the Nets get, I'll be okay with. Because it's not a guarantee. You don't really know we really don't really know. Ideally, if the Nets can get Maxey, I would love that. Because of what I saw last year in Kentucky is a star player. Now, I've seen him play with Kentucky. I mean, he was on Kentucky. They take Jalen Smith. He's very good with Maryland's. I think he was in the Player of the Year candidate last year. I mean, he's been insane. So, whoever you take, I'm all right with. Unless if it's somebody, that's not very good. But anyway, we got, that's my NBA mock draft. I think it, looks pretty, I like it. So, hopefully you do as well. If you guys really want to, you can comment your mock drafts down below. So anyway. Alrighty, so coming up next, we got the MLB rumors. There's been some rumors going around with the MLB coming up next. Alrighty, so alrighty. So let's get this up here. Alrighty. So there's been a lot of rumors going around with this, with the MLB, and stuff like that. Alright. So let me just get this site up. Alright, so let's get this up. So like I said, just got done with my NBA mock draft. Now we move on to let's move on to our MLB rumors. Alright. So there's been, I guess, a lot of rumors involving the Yankees and the Mets, kind of just the MLB to begin with. There's some kind of to name them. I've heard a lot about Trevor Bauer coming to the Mets. Him and Steve Cohen supposedly have a pretty close relationship and have been in contact a couple of times already. So he could be definitely on the table for the New York Mets. They could use another pitcher, Syndergaard, DeGrom, and then another one. And then Trevor Bauer would be very good. One thing with Trevor Bauer is you don't know how he's a very interesting guy, very cocky. You don't know how he would work with the New York media. And I was talking to someone about that a couple weeks ago. Is the New York media is rough and the New York media is tough. He might not be the exact guy you would want on your starting rotation, being that it is the New York media and the way he is. So it's definitely going to be interesting. Now let's move on here. Next one up was Yadier Molina. I actually heard Yadier Molina's main two teams that you would probably go to was the Yankees and the Mets, both needing badly catchers. Now I understand that the Yankees have Higgy, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Higgy's going to be the backup. Now you could definitely swap through every other game or whatever. But if Yadi does come, it probably would be Yadi. But the Yankees definitely do need another catcher. And Sanchez, and we were talking about this the other day too. I was talking with somebody. Sanchez could possibly be in that Yadier Molina deal. I think Sanchez is gone. Sanchez could very well be in that Yadier Molina deal. So it would definitely be interesting what happens. But I kind of laughing because I don't think you're going to give away Sanchez and get Yadi in return, but you might have to give away a little bit more. There's been rumors around a lot of players a lot of players with rumors and stuff. So Yadier Molina has been another one. Another one for the New York Yankees that has been going around that a lot of people think the Yankees will get is Francisco Lindor. And I would love this move for many reasons. I think the Francisco Lindor is one of the better players in all the league right now. He's young. He's talented. He loves the game. And I think for the New York Yankees, that's exactly what you need. A guy in that locker room that kind of brings you energy. He's a very, he plays the game to have fun. And for a guy that has a lot of energy, he keeps a locker room together. That's really kind of where I'm getting with this. He keeps a locker room together, and that's what's really, really good about him. And in sometimes tough times, you need players that are going to do that. Keep locker rooms together in tough times, and that's a very good positive for him, along with his skill. A very good defender, a very good hitter, all around a very good player. That is the most intriguing rumor to me for the MLB so far. So that's kind of what I got for the MLB rumors. But like I said, I really do think that's big. And the Yankees' plans about DJ LeMahieu's future are still very uncertain. I think it really does rely on what happens with LeMahieu is going to decide on what happens with what they're going to do with Lindor. That's kind of the big deal. But that's really big. That's really big. I think if we get Lindor, that would be huge. So that's kind of it for the MLB rumors. Just a few. Alrighty, so now we move on to the college games today. Alrighty. So let's get over here. We'll pull up the all games. Okay. So yesterday's game, Kent State won 69-35, and Buffalo won 42-17. Today there are 3 games on. It looks like 2 of them might be televised though. So there's 3 games on today. These are the games. We got Northern Illinois and Ball State. I give Ball State the win. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN News. So I don't know. Obviously with the draft on ESPN, that game might not. ESPN News. I don't think I have that channel. And the other one's Toledo Eastern Michigan. Today, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on CBS Sports. Give Toledo the win. And then Western Michigan, Central Michigan, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, ESPN 2. Give Central Michigan the win. I will be watching the NFL draft. Not the NFL draft, the NBA draft. Although, I might watch, like, for example, the 7 o'clock game. Since the NBA draft, the thing doesn't come on until 7:30. I might watch the one game for like a half an hour, then turn on the NBA pre-draft show, and then watch the draft from there on. So, if you're a person who's just going to watch the draft, that's just going to watch the games, then enjoy those games. But that should be good. So that's what I got for the podcast today. So, everyone, enjoy the NBA draft tonight. Tomorrow, I'm deciding what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to recap the draft or kind of just recap what the Nets and the Knicks did, or what I'm going to do, because with football season on, I have the keys to the game in the Thursday night game tomorrow. So it's going to be interesting to see what I do, but I'm going to decide. Or do I just completely, because I don't want to eliminate fantasy, because fantasy is stacked this week. I mean, you got 2 over-firepowering offenses that have a lot of good fantasy players on there, so I don't want to just skip fantasy. I might combine them like I did with Monday night, and then talk about the draft, or I might just put draft in the final topic, something like that. Draft will be talked about tomorrow. It just depends on if it's going to be the second topic or if it's going to be the last topic with the college football and stuff. But I'll decide there. With all that being said, that will do it for the podcast today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Enjoy the NBA draft tonight if you're going to watch it. If you're like me. Enjoy it. I will be watching, hoping the Nets make the right decision. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. A lot of good players, a lot of good talent. And that first pick, I mean, that's going to be a lot of that's uncertain. So that's definitely going to be interesting. It's not like most years where the first pick's pretty much done a couple months in advance, because whoever the best player is in that college usually goes. But this year, that's not the case. I personally think it's Anthony Edwards, but, we shall see. So with all that being said, that will do it for today's podcast. I will see you all back here tomorrow with my first game pick of Week 11. We'll be talking about the Seahawks-Cardinals game, or the Cardinals-Seahawks game. So that should be fun. With all that being said, that will do it for today's podcast. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.